Hello, everyone. I'm Charlotte. Welcome back to Read Insight, where we read between the lines to discover the vastness of the world and, more importantly, the landscape within ourselves. Today, I want to take you into a book that is not just a psychological study, but a gentle surgical procedure designed to repair the hearts we've so carefully wrapped up out of fear of getting hurt. The author is the renowned shame researcher, Dr. Brené Brown, and the book is titled Daring Greatly. To start our journey today, I want to invite you to visualize a scene. Try to recall the last time you wanted to simply disappear into the ground. Maybe it was when you pitched an idea in a meeting only to be met with cold silence, or perhaps when you gathered the courage to confess your feelings to someone and were politely rejected. Or maybe you posted a piece of creative work online that you were proud of, only to receive your first nasty comment. In that moment, your cheeks burn, your heart races, and a voice inside you screams, I'm not good enough. I messed up. I shouldn't have let myself look so stupid. We usually call this feeling vulnerability. In our culture, vulnerability is often equated with weakness. We are taught to be strong, to arm ourselves, to put on armor, and never let anyone see our soft spots. However, after spending over a decade researching this, Dr. Brené Brown tells us a completely opposite conclusion. Vulnerability is not weakness. In fact, it is the most accurate measure of courage. It sounds a bit counterintuitive, doesn't it? Stay with me and let's unravel this together. The core concept of this book actually stems from a famous speech by former US President Theodore Roosevelt, known as the man in the arena. It's a powerful quote. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly. This passage is where the book gets its title, Doctor. Brown wants us to understand that vulnerability is walking into that arena, knowing you might fail, knowing you might get hurt, but choosing to show up anyway. This isn't stupidity. It is the ultimate engagement with life. Think about it for a moment. If we refuse to enter the arena because we are afraid of getting hurt, what happens? We certainly become safe. We won't be criticized. We won't be rejected. But simultaneously, we lose love, we lose belonging, and we lose creativity because all of these beautiful things are born in uncertainty. If you aren't willing to risk heartbreak, you can never experience the thrill of loving someone wholeheartedly. If you dare not risk failure, you can never create work that truly touches people's souls. This leads us to a deeper question. Why are we so afraid of vulnerability? Why do we constantly chase perfection? Dr. Brown offers a very sharp insight in the book. She suggests that we live in a culture of scarcity. Our first thought upon waking is often, I didn't get enough sleep. And our last thought before bed is, I didn't get enough done. This anxiety of never enough drives us to find shields to protect ourselves. One of the heaviest shields we carry is called perfectionism. Please note, perfectionism is not the same as striving for excellence. Those are two very different things. Striving for excellence is about self-improvement and growth. Perfectionism, however, is a defense mechanism. It's a survival strategy we learned young, thinking if I look perfect, work perfectly, and live perfectly, I can avoid blame, judgment, and shame. We think perfection is a suit of armor that can deflect all pain. But in reality, perfectionism is a heavy shackle. It prevents us from moving, it suffocates us, because The moment you believe in perfectionism, you hand over control of your self worth to others. Your value becomes entirely dependent on their applause and approval. What a dangerous and exhausting way to live. Aside from perfectionism, we also habitually use numbing as a shield. When we feel vulnerable, fearful, or ashamed, we might choose to work frantically, shop obsessively, or lose ourselves in alcohol or distractions to numb those uncomfortable feelings. But here lies a cruel truth, and perhaps the most poignant line in the book. We cannot selectively numb emotion. When you numb the pain, the fear, and the vulnerability, you also numb the joy, the gratitude, and the happiness. Emotion is a package deal. You can't just take the good half and surgically remove the bad. This is why many people in the modern world, despite living comfortable lives without acute suffering, feel a lack of vitality. In their attempt to defend against pain, they have sealed off their ability to feel joy. So, how do we take off this armor and live as our authentic selves? Dr. Brown introduces the concept of wholehearted living. This requires us to practice accepting our imperfections, admitting we are vulnerable, yet believing that we are worthy of love and belonging just as we are. This might sound abstract, but it's it's very concrete in daily life. For instance, in a relationship, it means saying I love you first, even without the guarantee that it will be returned. In the workplace, if you are a leader, it means admitting when you've made a mistake and saying to your team, I messed up, let's figure this out together, rather than posturing to save face. This kind of honesty doesn't weaken your authority, it builds real trust because people don't connect with a perfect robot, they connect with a human being. There is another point in the book that is particularly thought provoking, and that is regarding parenting. Many parents want their children to be brave and confident, but if the parents themselves are wearing heavy armor, if they refuse to show vulnerability in front of their kids, how can the children learn? We cannot give our children what we do not have ourselves. If we want our children to accept their imperfections, we must first let them see that their parents are imperfect too, and that this imperfection does not diminish our ability to love and be loved. Even more fascinating is a subtle emotion Dr. Brown describes as foreboding joy. Have you ever experienced this? You're watching your sleeping child filled with overwhelming love, and suddenly a terrifying thought strikes. What if something happens to him? Or when your career is at its peak, you suddenly panic. Will this all disappear tomorrow? This psychological paradox, feeling fear at our happiest moments, happens because we are terrified of loss. We are so afraid of getting hurt that we don't dare to fully enjoy the moment. We try to protect ourselves by rehearsing the worst case scenario, but this is futile. If tragedy strikes, you won't be in less pain just because you rehearsed it. But by living in fear, you sacrifice the joy you could be feeling right now. So, what is the antidote? Surprisingly, it is gratitude. In those moments of vulnerability, when you are terrified of losing what you have, stop. Take a deep breath. Tell yourself, yes, I am afraid, but that is because I have something precious. That is because I am loving. Don't push the fear away. Transform it into gratitude for the present moment. Reading this book is like peeling an onion. Sometimes it brings tears to your eyes because it touches the most hidden, tender spots of our psyche. We are all that person in the arena. Our faces may be marred by dust and sweat. Our hearts may be pounding with fear, but as long as we are willing to stand there, willing to open our arms to this uncertain world, we are brave. True courage is not the absence of fear. It is feeling the fear and choosing to move forward anyway. Vulnerability is the path to love, belonging, and joy. If we close that door to protect ourselves, we shut out everything else too. I'd like to summarize the spirit of this book with one thought. You don't need to be perfect to be loved. Your vulnerability is your most beautiful truth. Let us practice accepting our imperfections together. In a world full of filters and edits, let's be brave enough to show our real, messy, but incredibly vibrant selves. That's all for today's sharing. I'm Charlotte. I hope today's insight gives you a little strength so the next time you step into the arena of life, you might be willing to shed that heavy armor and travel light. Until next time on Read Insight.